It's time to put the good in your morning. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. And today, a whale gets a little too close for comfort for two kayakers.
As that sun rises, the warmth is on. And look at this development. Wait a second. It's not going to knock us over wind-wise? No, we lucked out. Latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And a new cough detector looks to help identify different sicknesses. The KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 starts now. Thanks for joining us on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. The 2020 U.S. presidential race continues to come down to the wire as several too close to call states continue to count their mail-in ballots. As President Trump's re-election continues to come into question as results narrow, the Trump campaign prepares to take legal action. Joe Biden is projected to win two more battleground states, Wisconsin and Michigan, and that puts the former vice president within striking distance of the 270 electoral votes needed to win the presidency. North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Georgia are still considered toss-ups. Arizona and Nevada are leaning Democratic. As far as how some counties in the four states voted, every one of them in our area favored President Trump. In this list, the counties with the highest percentage vote for the president are at the top. President Trump received more than 80% of the vote in four counties in our viewing area, and those were Barton County, McDonald County, Wilson County, and Woodson County. The highest former Vice President Biden reached in any area county was 39% of the vote, and that was in Labette County. In Crawford County, Biden had 38%. Leading up to Tuesday's voting, local party committees put in a lot of work trying to secure votes for their candidates. On the Republican side, the Southwest Missouri Republicans opened their office in Joplin in June. Southwest Missouri Democrats had worked just as long. Now they're taking down signs, and they'll make plans for the next election, try to find candidates, and work with newly elected lawmakers.
The next phase of volunteering will be going ahead and doing voter ID to ID all the Democrats in the area so that the next time that we have an election and we're trying to remind people to vote, we know who the Democrats are to remind them to vote.
We kept Missouri red, but that's just the beginning. You have to make sure those you put into office are still living up to the ideals they ran on.
And of course, like most of us, both parties are still anxiously waiting to see who will win the presidential race. Crawford County, Kansas voters decided who would be sheriff. Incumbent Danny Smith defeated challenger J.J. Carlinger by more than 1,500 votes. Now, Smith first took office in April of 2019 after Dan Peek retired midterm. And now he's looking forward to working for the next 4 years.
I just want to continue what we've done for the next 4 years and leave a positive impact on the community. That's our job. And like I said, we have a lot of good programs that we've done just in the last year and a half. And I just want to be able to continue to do that. And, the next 4 years, I'm excited to see what we can do.
Ottawa County also had a sheriff's race. David Dean defeated incumbent Jeremy Floyd by more than 2,000 votes. An escaped inmate is caught in Lamar, Missouri, and officials credit alert citizens. Tuesday evening, Christian Myers escaped from custody while at Cedar County Memorial Hospital in El Dorado Springs. Two people at a Casey's convenience store in Lamar recognized Myers at the store. There was a social media post with Myers' picture, and Myers was arrested before he left the store. Newton County, Missouri reports two more COVID-19 related deaths, bringing the total in the county to 35. Officials say it was a woman in her 60s and a man in his 70s. The city of Joplin is reporting its 37th COVID-19 related death. They say it was an 86-year-old man. A Joplin woman who was accused of abandoning her husband's corpse in a freezer has lost a bid to get the body back. A judge dismissed Barbara Waters' lawsuit that sought to recover her husband's body and some documents that were taken during the investigation. The suit was dismissed without prejudice due to the plaintiff Waters' quote, failure to respond to court directives. Missouri Southern is making sure students know about all of the careers available to them in the art world. Yesterday, that was done through a Business of Art symposium. Business and visual arts professionals presented insight into the business end of art careers.
It's one thing to kind of get lost in your studio making things and making a mess, but there's also the polished professional side that they have to present themselves with.
The symposium was made available free of charge on Zoom for students and the general public. Well, 2 kayakers get an unexpected surprise off the coast of California. A whale capsized 2 women in a kayak. Yikes. Scary incident was caught on camera near Avila Beach. Julie McSorley was one of the kayakers who was capsized. She recalled seeing whales off in the distance and then was shocked when one popped up under her boat. Wow. The whale in the incident was a humpback whale, considered an endangered species. Marine animal experts suggest folks try to keep at least 100 yards distance between them, as they can be unpredictable.
Yeah.
I'm sure she realizes that now.
As in, that would scare the bejesus out of me.
Huh.
You know,
Better a humpback than a shark.
you're out there watching, nature, beauty, and the whales frolicking in the water, and next thing you know, you're slow motion as you're like, what in the world just happened? Wow. Well,
That is so fun to watch.
That's something you tell the grandkids about right there. I'm just glad everybody's okay. I mean, I've always wondered about the force of that. And, that's... Okay, you can laugh about it all you want. I can't fathom the force of that thing coming up like that.
Yeah.
Like if it...
Maybe she was just trying to be Pinocchio and take a ride inside.
No, that thing could have vaulted her feet into the air if it wanted to. All right, let's take a live look outside of Television City. Just a gorgeous start to our Thursday, and the big factor is that we didn't see the flag blowing right there. That's key. That is very key. And we're just going to go 5 to 10 miles per hour, and what that's really done, even with our humidity that's going to fall this afternoon, we can get rid of that elevated fire risk. No, not even going to go. We're going to drop it below limited fire risk today. So it really, if you got to get anything done, take advantage of it, I guess. Just, please be careful. 55 degrees is where we stand right now in Joplin, 48 in Pittsburgh, 46 in Miami, and 49 in Nevada. So very, very nice for this time of year. No worries for the kids on the way to the bus stop, already sitting in the 60s there by the time we get to the 9 o'clock hour. That cloud cover that we had yesterday, it's clearly moved off to the east right there, just about on the other side of the Ozarks. We've had just a little bit through northeast Oklahoma, one of those that actually gives us the gorgeous colors of the morning sunrise. A couple things of note here. We'll get into what's happening in the Pacific. It's not going to affect us for a couple of days, but it is eventually bringing them some much needed precipitation up through Oregon and Washington State. And now, right here in North Texas, that thing's going to cut off right there. And so that trough really isn't going to be able to affect us as it pushes off to the east. So we have another glorious early November day. Temperatures up into the mid 70s and overnight just mid 50s. Not going to be too bad at all. We continue the 70s. Our big development is going to be Monday into Tuesday. Number 1, the thunderstorm activity, but number 2, the cold front as well, as we plummet down into the 50s by the time we get to the middle of next week. Tanya?
All right, thanks, Michael. Up next, how federal health officials are launching a new campaign to bring awareness and help to mothers who are surviving maternity and COVID-19. And everything you need to know about surprise medical bills. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. The San Jose Medical Center is specifically prepping its personnel for an uptick in election-based stress-related patients. The move comes amid the presidential election, which in 2016 did cause a bump in stress-related visits to some Florida hospitals. Health officials have long warned about excess anxiety worsening underlying conditions, with several states still counting ballots and President Trump pursuing legal action if Joe Biden wins. Some experts believe we could be in for some lengthy election-related stress. The CDC finds pregnant women with COVID-19 face a higher risk for severe illness and death. CDC says the findings may be due to the physiological changes associated with pregnancy, including increased heart rate and decreased lung capacity. A separate CDC study found mothers to be with the coronavirus are also at risk for premature delivery. Well, tens of thousands of moms suffer from life-threatening complications related to pregnancy and childbirth every year. Now, federal health officials are launching a new campaign to bring awareness and help to more mothers, to help more mothers survive. Elise Preston has more.
He's the one who noticed his mom's face was swollen.
In a powerful new PSA campaign, the Centers for Disease Control wants you to hear the stories of mothers who almost lost their lives while trying to have a baby.
Oh, you're fine, you're pregnant.
Nearly 700 mothers each year die from complications during and after pregnancy. Omari Maynard's partner is one of them. He says Shamani Gibson alerted doctors she was in pain, but she still died of a pulmonary embolism just days after an emergency C-section.
Do I feel like she was being ignored? I feel like the care could have been a lot better if they were listening to her.
Mothers are increasingly dying from infection, hemorrhaging, and preeclampsia. 2/3 of the deaths are preventable. The Hear Her campaign hopes to encourage mothers and those around them to know the warning signs.
A headache that seems severe and will not go away. Unusual swelling, of the feet.
CDC Director of Reproductive Health, Dr. Wanda Barfield, says the timing of the campaign is even more critical with the COVID-19 pandemic.
Women may be concerned that they can't be seen by a provider, but if they have a pregnancy-related complication or a significant warning sign, it's really important that they reach out.
This campaign will target cities where maternal mortality rates are the highest, including New York, St. Louis, and Atlanta.
Gibson's 2 children are now growing up without their mom.
She just loved family, she loved the community, and she was just excited about being a mother.
Maynard hopes this campaign will prevent his nightmare from happening to other families. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
Mothers of color are disproportionately affected by pregnancy-related complications. A newly developed artificial intelligence is being used to detect COVID-19 cases by spotting the subtle differences in coughs. The algorithm researchers used is based on previous models the team developed to detect pneumonia, asthma, and Alzheimer's disease, along with the research gathered from more than 70,000 individual recordings of forced cough samples. Researchers say if the AI makes it to iPhone apps, it could be a game changer in curbing the spread of the pandemic by spotting asymptomatic cases.
Gotten to the point now where we're afraid to death to cough anywhere.
Oh, I know.
In public, almost to the point where I think it gets psychosomatic. Don't want to cough, don't want to sneeze. Yeah.
Or you take light of the matter and you're like,
I was just clearing my throat there.
Yep. Yeah, I think I read a meme recently where, like, in 2018, you used to cough to cover up a fart. In 2020, you use a fart to cover up a cough.
I haven't seen that one. Thanks for passing that one along. Weather Almanac for our November 5th. I've had a lot of questions this week about are we going to get close to a high? Well, the thing is, our high is really for early November, and while sporadic in years, not one consistent year that tracks through, our high 70s, low 80s. So even though we've been enjoying temperatures well above average, really haven't approached anything of a record of sorts. Look at that, 1982. Woo, no thank you, 19 degrees. All right, beautiful, beautiful start outside of Television City right there. Freeman Health System Sky Camera in Joplin. Gorgeous looking campus as well. 55 degrees is where we stand. 48 in Pittsburgh, 52 in Neosho, and 46 in Chanute. It's nice that we don't have to use the gust tracker. We just call it the wind tracker for today. It makes a huge difference, especially when it comes to our fire weather, as we'll range in between 5 and 10 miles per hour. And also too, that means that if you do have to do any outdoor burning, I'm not condoning it. I'm just saying if you do, might be better because wind is going to reemerge over the weekend. No worries for the kids on the bus stop forecast in the cloud cover, albeit light that we saw from the tower cam right there. The heaviest already moving out there through central Missouri. Nationally speaking, starting to see the development of some precipitation up here. It'll slowly make its way down toward us, but not until next week. And then this cutoff low right here that we see in North Texas actually not going to affect us. You know, sometimes we see the trough, we're thinking temperature change, thunderstorm activity. I think it's going to be able to push off to the east of Mississippi, or the east of the Mississippi right there. Eta is going to reemerge as a tropical storm as it heads towards Cuba. We'll dive in a little bit more on it, but it look like it's going to affect southern Florida probably Monday or Tuesday. For us, by the time we get to Monday or Tuesday, we're going to be talking about thunderstorm development Monday night into Tuesday morning, and a cold front indicated by, that's your low, that's your high. That means temperatures, whoop, going to drop about 20, 30 degrees there on Tuesday, and 50s by the time we get to the middle of next week. Be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. Now, there's something to talk about this morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll. President Trump's campaign suggesting it may ask for a recount in Wisconsin. State law allows for that if the margin is within 1%. Candidate has to cover the cost. As Tom Durian shows us, election officials ready to get the ball rolling.
When we do a recount, all the municipal clerks and all the municipalities, we have to kind of recreate the election.
And that is no easy task. There are 72 counties across Wisconsin and 1,850 municipalities within them. The data from all those places has to be recounted.
Luckily in Wisconsin, we do have those paper ballots, so we can run those paper ballots through those tabulating machines.
Yep, that's right. Just like on election night, in counties across the state, ballots would have to be refed through machines and tabulated all over again. For Waukesha County, that means you have to have hundreds of workers, dozens of machines, and a place big enough to work in.
You were preparing for this possibility before the president even said, or his campaign even said, that we might ask for a recount.
You know, we actually reserved the Expo Center space about a month ago.
Wisconsin is no stranger to recounts. In 2016, Green Party candidate Jill Stein asked and paid $3.5 million for a recount. In the end, the candidate's standing didn't change.
And we've had a recount before, and it showed that we have a really good process. We have a really good system.
President Trump's team has 3 days after the counties file official results with the state to request a recount. If it does not make that request, the process is expected to take up to 2 weeks. And you can participate in our morning Insta poll. You go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. That's KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Simple question. We're asking, should there be election recounts in battleground states? Right now, 80% of you respondents are saying yes, only 20% saying no. We'll not only catch up with some of your Facebook comments, but continue to roll our Insta poll. We're going to come back and talk about local election counting right after this.
While counting is still going on in some states across the nation, local officials say it could be some time before we have a definitive winner. KOAM's Chris Warner has more.
In a typical presidential election, we typically have a good idea of who the winner will be that night. But this year, we didn't. Jasper County Clerk Charlie Davis says the only other time that happened was in the 2000 election between George Bush and Al Gore. He says this one could take a bit longer to decide.
The thing about this election is I don't think it's going to be decided in a few days. I think it's going to be decided in weeks or months because I'm sure that there's going to be some court challenges that may potentially go up to the Supreme Court.
In our election Insta poll, we asked you, how confident are you that votes will be counted properly nationwide? Well, 63% of you said you weren't confident, while only 26% said you were. So we went to Mercy Park in Joplin to see how residents feel.
When you get one vote that's in Arizona and you call it for, another candidate, it just doesn't make sense. I don't understand that, how that could happen. So I just don't trust it.
Yes, I think they will. I think there may be some discrepancies, but for the most part, I think they will be accurate.
I would say I'm 90% assured that they will be. With our automated process that's in effect, I think it should and could work.
Davis says he feels that people have confidence in local vote counting.
Talking to the people that have come here and voted absentee, because we voted almost 7,000 people in person absentee, and people were excited. People were really energized as saying, so it goes into the machine immediately. It's like, absolutely. And they felt that their vote actually counted.
In Joplin and Carthage, Chris Warner, KOAM News.
To keep up on the latest national numbers in the race for the presidency, you can visit our website at KOAMnewsnow.com and just click on the link at the top of the page. It's time now to honor today's four-state hero, Willie Jones, a major in the United States Army. He served in Korea from 1953 to 1954 and in Vietnam from 67 to 68 in the 173rd. And there he earned two oak leaf clusters and the Presidential Unit Citation. Native of Independence, Kansas, we salute you, Willie Jones, our four-state hero. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:30. Let's take a look at today's top stories. The 2020 U.S. presidential race continues to come down to the wire as several too close to call states continue to count their mail-in ballots. As the President Trump's re-election continues to come into question as results narrow, the Trump campaign prepares to take legal action. Joe Biden is projected to win two more battleground states, Wisconsin and Michigan. That puts the former vice president within striking distance of the 270 electoral votes needed to win the presidency. North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Georgia are still considered toss-ups. Arizona and Nevada are leaning Democratic. Well, as far as how some counties in the four states voted, every one of them in our area favored President Trump. In this list, the counties with the highest percentage vote for the president are at the top. President Trump received more than 80% of the vote in four counties in our viewing area, and those were Barton County, McDonald County, Wilson County, and Woodson County. The highest former Vice President Biden reached in any area county was 39% of the vote, and that was in Labette County. In Crawford County, Biden had 38%. An escaped inmate is caught in Lamar, Missouri, and officials credit alert citizens. Tuesday evening, Christian Myers escaped from custody while at the Cedar County Memorial Hospital in El Dorado Springs. Two people at a Casey's convenience store in Lamar recognized Myers at the store. There was a social media post with Myers' picture. Myers was arrested before he left the store. Skiers in Squaw County, California are eager with anticipation for an ensuing snowstorm. The National Weather Service is expecting 3 to 8 inches above 5,000 feet. The snowy weather is expected to move in Friday morning and continue until Sunday morning. Colder temperatures will help preserve man-made snow at the resort ahead of opening day later this month.
Yeah, so often we think of the old Albert Hammond song, Never Rains in Southern California. Let's remember it's one of the most mountainous place on the West Coast, that is for sure. And what they're going to have, Tanya, is a low pressure system that's developed over the Pacific Northwest. A lot of that's going to sink down and give you some of that snow, but also too, this same pressure system is going to be able to make its way over the Rockies and affect our weather next week. Now, for the time being, it's going to be a gorgeous Thursday in the four states from the Freeman Health System sky camera where we sit already at 55 degrees. Humidity not going to be as low as what we've had past couple of days. Still very dry, but not as low, and we're not going to have to fight the wind. That means we're going to be able to lift the elevated fire risk that we had yesterday, not even really go limited fire risk. So if you do need to get anything done outside and it involves a little burning, just please be careful. 55 in Carthage, 46 in Parsons, and 48 right now in Nevada. No longer the wind gust tracker, just the wind tracker, and it's very nice just to see 5 to 10 miles per hour. That'll last all day long. Not going to be one of those blustery days. Speaking of blustery days, the cloud cover that we had yesterday, it's pushed off far to the east, everything dissipating even down throughout northeast Oklahoma that we had earlier. Now, another part of the jet stream I wanted to point out, not only up here in the Pacific Northwest, but see this trough down here in North Texas. A lot of times when we see that dip below us, we think about maybe some cooler temps, maybe even some rain. Not the case. This is actually going to close itself off right here and really not affect anything above central Oklahoma. Now, eventually, it's going to help us bring some Gulf moisture and some needed rain. Speaking of rain, let's check out what is right now low pressure system from former Hurricane Eta, but it's not done as of yet. As it pounds Honduras after making landfall in Nicaragua, we're looking at it reemerging as a tropical storm as it heads towards Cuba. It has dramatically slowed down, and so it's really next week that we're looking at it affecting the southern portion of Florida after it makes its way across Cuba and is able to maintain tropical storm force. For our Thursday here in the 4 states, mid-70s, good 9-10 degrees above normal. We're able to take that all the way into the weekend. We talked about the Pacific Northwest. Here's where it affects us. Monday night into Tuesday morning. Thunderstorm activity and then a big-time cold front that's going to drop us down about 20-25 degrees in the 50s for the middle of next week. So get out and enjoy what's left of these 70s for the rest of this week. Be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 for you right after this. KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Instapoll question asking how you feel about recounts in battleground states. We'll begin our comments with Joan Wilson Steiner. Joan with a yes. She is in favor of the recounts, as is Jackie Rector. Jackie says with verification that every ballot counted is a legal one. Daniel Close says absolutely there should be a recount. Democrats have cheated, discarded ballots, and not allowed people to vote, and in some cases altered ballots. And Teresa Houston Austin says at this point a vote recount is a no-brainer in these states being questioned. At the very least, an investigation needs to be had for all these alleged accounts of ballot tampering. Hopefully this doesn't end up in a months-long court battle. As far as the Instapoll goes this morning, it's been pretty overwhelming. 79% of you saying yes, there should be election recounts in those battleground states. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote to let us know what you think. Now, every 4 years, election years, general election years, they're very stressful, but now, especially as people await results from this presidential race. But the key to stress relief might just be some patience. KOAM's Caitlin Shives spoke with a Webb City kindergarten teacher, taking us back to the basics.
We all learned at an early age to practice patience, but now more than ever that lesson rings true as we sit back and wait to hear the final results of the 2020 presidential election.
We have become a society that we get things immediate, and it's fantastic to have all that technology, but in the real world we still have to wait our turn and we still have to practice that patience, and as adults it's important for us to model that to our kids.
In stressful situations like waiting longer than expected for election results, we may be feeling frustrated or angry. Kindergarten teacher Karen Dingman says it's all about going back to the basics we learned as kids to help us deal with trying times.
There are a lot of things that will test our patience when we're driving down the road, when we're waiting our turn in a drive-through line or at a store to check out. There are plenty of opportunities to practice that patience, and the same skills that we teach our kindergartners are the skills that we need as adults too.
Deep breathing, distracting yourself with other things, and just simply walking around can help lessen those feelings of impatience. 5-year-old Kobe says he doesn't mind being patient, waiting for his turn on the playground or for show and tell, but it can be hard for him sometimes having patience with family.
What about when you're at home with your parents? Do you ever have to practice patience there? No?
A lot.
You do?
Yeah.
With what?
With my little nephew.
And even I got a lesson in patience, trying to connect with kids while they're preoccupied with toys.
Tell me maybe a story about when you've had to do that.
Almost everywhere I go.
Why's that?
Because when we get to the playground, whatever I get on, he gets on.
Really?
And whenever we play baseball, whatever I throw, he goes and just gets it.
How does that make you feel?
A tiny bit mad.
Really? Is that when you really have to be patient with him because he is younger than you?
Yes.
Patience and kindness go a long way. Being able to sit back and wait our turn and know that no matter what happens, it's going to be okay.
In Webb City, Caitlin Shive, KOAM News.
You can find more on this story on our website. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com. We'll be back right after this. Millions of people started working from home when the coronavirus shut down office buildings, and it looks like that trend's going to continue even after the pandemic is over. Naomi Rockham explains.
Akshay Arora used to work in the office every day for the real estate website Zillow, but he's now at home because of the pandemic.
Did you ever see yourself being a work from home person?
I have done work from home previously. I did not see this happening anytime soon. This is a big shift in the industry.
In a recent survey, 87% of remote workers said they want the option to keep doing so. Several major corporations are offering many of their employees the ability to do their jobs at home permanently, including Zillow.
Have you seen any impact on productivity?
Most of the impact that we've seen has been positive. We've been able to move up some of our product releases.
Zillow Chief People Officer Dan Spalding says even with the move to remote work, the company is keeping offices.
We believe that even if people are working from home, it's going to be important that they have our offices to come together, collaborate, talk through issues.
A study from staffing agency Robert Half found 61% of companies are advertising fully remote jobs, and 60% are now expanding their search geographically to access a wider candidate pool.
I think this is the new normal, and the data shows that as well.
Akshay says performing his job at home works for him.
It's been fantastic that Zillow's given us a flexible schedule where I have this time that I didn't have before. How does it go?
That extra time is now spent with his kids, who are just steps away when the workday is over. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News, New York.
In a survey from Enterprise Technology Research, business leaders predicted remote tech jobs could double in the year 2021. Ford's recalling 375,000 Explorer SUVs in North America. Comes after the company found a part can break and lead to a crash. Now, Ford says the recall covers some 2013 to 2017 model vehicles. Comes because of a possible fracture of the outboard section of the rear suspension toe link. A prior recall has been completed. Ford says it's aware of reports of at least 13 crashes and 6 injuries related to the faulty part. American Airlines announcing major cuts during the holiday season, slashing about 100,000 flights that were scheduled through December. The airline reining in about half of its flight schedule to what it was in December of 2019. Of course, you got lower travel demands because of COVID-19. Downsizing having an effect on major cities, Philly, LA, Chicago. But it's going to be New York feeling the biggest pinch. 86% fewer American flights at both JFK and LaGuardia. Internal Revenue Service giving taxpayers who owe the agency some money a little leeway. IRS taking the action to help taxpayers who are struggling financially because of the pandemic. Under this new system, people who owe money to the feds going to receive more choices on how to make payments on the balances that they owe. Now, taxpayers who qualify for a short-term payment plan may now receive up to 180 days to pay back the money. Usually, feds will give you about 120 days. That's a look at our KOAM Morning News Business Report. Be back with your weather and a little Midday Thursday right after this. As if some great November weather can't get any better, well, it's about to. We find ourselves 11 minutes till the top of the hour. Of course, yesterday, almost got overcast there during portions of the noon hour, and we had to fight that strong southerly wind. We had elevated burning risk, fire risk. Look at that. Cloud cover, bye-bye. Old Glory, still beautiful sky, sunshine, and temperatures that are going to rise quickly. 55 is where we stand right now at the Freeman Health System Sky Camera in Joplin. Two things to point out. As I said, wind's not going to be too bad today, and the humidity not as low. So we're able to drop that elevated fire risk to nil. I mean, it's great. 47 in Parsons, 55 in Carthage, and 45 right now in Miami. And the winds that we're going to see today, just between 5 to 10 miles per hour. No more of those 30-mile-per-hour gusts that we've been having to tolerate. Starting to see some action up in the Pacific Northwest. Good thing for them. They need a little bit of the rain. We need it as well. And this actually is going to follow down to the jet stream. It's going to have, number one, some thunderstorm activity. Number two, some cooler air with it as well. That's not until the middle of next week. Now, sit back and enjoy a great end of this week and a wonderful weekend as well. Now, of course, keeping our eyes on Hurricane Ada, now a low-pressure system, but not done yet, because after it moves off of Honduras, back to tropical storm force as it approaches Cuba, sweeps over Cuba, and then will have an effect on the southern coast of Florida right there until next week. So let's get through this week first. Wonderful looking afternoon, sunshine, Highs in the mid-70s, a good 9-10 degrees above where we'd normally be. Little cloud cover for Friday morning. It's dry though, and we're able to take 70s into the weekend. Now, we were talking about that system up in the Pacific Northwest. Here we go right here. Monday into Tuesday. Thunderstorm development for Monday night takes us into Tuesday. And look, that low's the same as that high. That means that cold front's really going to play a role by the time we get to the middle of next week. So get out and enjoy what's left of those 70s. Now, over to Jesse with a little Midday Thursday.
Well, COVID-19 can provide some interesting medical bills as far as hospitals go. This morning, we are joined by Claire Cruising, who's the spokesperson with Coalition Against Surprise Medical Billing. And Claire, thank you for joining us this morning. Can you explain, I mean, when we talk about medical billing for COVID-19, what are we referring to?
So one of the issues that we've been really focused on over the course of the pandemic is making sure that patients who are either facing COVID treatment or in need of testing have access to those services. And thankfully, our members as well as Congress made clear that anyone seeking COVID testing or treatment would have affordable access to those services. But what we are increasingly concerned about is actually those patients who may have delayed care during the pandemic and are now going back to their providers or scheduling those elective procedures and face the likelihood of a surprise bill at a time when everyone is still in recovery mode from this pandemic.
So why is this an issue that matters to you? Of course, making sure that people aren't permanently financially impacted by something like COVID-19 diagnoses. I mean, that's important, but do you have a personal connection to this cause? What got you into this?
So I do have a personal connection. I have seen a lot of my family members, either those who have cancer. In my case, I've had a cousin recently who passed away from cancer, and she did face extreme and significant charges. And when you are sick, the last thing that you need to be worrying about or even can wrap your head around is how are you going to pay for your care? And fortunately, for her, those charges were covered, but there's so many millions of Americans that don't have those charges covered, especially if there's limits on the number of hospitals or providers that are in their community today.
So what's the first step? Where should people go if they're looking for resources or looking for more information on how to tackle something like this, especially if they're dealing with it themselves?
Yeah, if you are dealing with it yourself, if you have received a surprise bill, I would encourage you to call your doctor or provider who issued it. Again, there's potentially ways that they might be able to negotiate, or if it was a charge made in error, remove it from your bill. One of the things that we've seen quite a lot is hospitals taking legal action against patients who can't pay those bills. And if you call and hopefully maybe figure out a solution, that potentially can help save you hundreds of thousands of dollars. At the same time, though, we strongly encourage everyone to contact their member of Congress and let them know that they need to take action to protect against these charges forever. And again, the only way we're going to do that is if we pass surprise billing legislation now. And it has to happen in Washington and in Congress. And to do so, we got to do it today.
Well, Claire, thank you so much for sharing this information with us. We're going to have more information on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Just head to our morning show page, and we'll be right back on the KOAM Morning News after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. The race for the White House is still too close to call as vote counting continues in several key states. The Trump campaign is preparing for legal challenges while the president's path to re-election narrows. Joe Biden is projected to win 2 more battleground states, Wisconsin and Michigan. The U.S. saw a new daily record of 100,000 COVID-19 infections on Wednesday. That's according to the COVID Tracking Project. The virus has taken more than 233,000 lives so far. NATO, once a major hurricane, is now pulling away from Central America, where it killed at least 3 people. Eta is now expected to gain strength before hitting Cuba and South Florida as a tropical storm, possibly on Sunday. Let's check in with Michael with a final look at your forecast.
Fresh air forecast going to send us sunny skies and just a nice little south wind of 5 to 10 miles per hour. What a welcome relief that will be. We continue to roll way above normal temperatures into the weekend. And remember, Monday into Tuesday, that's when the thunderstorm activity begins. And then the cold front drops us from Tuesday into Wednesday. Tanya?
Well, Burger King UK asked customers to order from its competition to help save jobs. Burger King wrote the words "order from McDonald's" on its Twitter account in an effort to help its rival beef up sales amid England's second national lockdown. Burger King didn't stop at the Golden Arches. The company is also encouraging its social media followers to order from several fast food chains or other independent food outlets. This move comes after Prime Minister Boris Johnson placed England on a national lockdown for the second time. It's very kind.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty unique business move by them right there when I read that yesterday. I thought that was very classy.
Support the businesses,
Yep.
that's for sure.
Anything new you want to point out that we're going to be hitting?
Oh, well, we're making a pretty yummy tuna melt. Plus, we'll have the latest on the election results and take a look at where the numbers lie in those key battleground states.
Of course, should anything be called, you'll have the latest right here on Fox 14 and also KOAM and CBS. I want to thank you so much for letting us put the good in your morning. We will be back with more news and weather when we see you at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.